So what we want to look at now is version control or source control for our application. And the most popular and common method to do this is to use Git. So just if you don't have this installed, I've already got it installed on my computer, so I can't install it again. But if you just type in Git into Google and go to gitscm.com and head over to their downloads page, this is the version control system that we're going to use. This is command line based, and you can just grab the download from here. And I'm sure it's going to say a Windows option or a Linux option if you're using that. And just download and install this on your computer. And once you've got it installed, you should be able to just come into your command prompt, just type in git, press return, and you'll see a bunch of help options for things that you can do with Git. So once you've got that file and you've got this installed, or you've got it installed already, let's head back over to VS Code. And what you should see on the left-hand side is this third tab down represents version control inside VS Code. Now at the moment all we see here is our Angular code, because when we used ng-new to create our Angular project, this also initialized a Git repository for us. Now, thanks very much, Angular, that's very helpful, but what we're going to do on this course is we're going to have one big Git repository that's going to contain both of our projects, because this is going to make it slightly easier to manage whilst we're developing this application. And because we're not working with multiple different teams and we've got a team working on the back end while another team is working on the front end, we can get away with just using a single Git repository for both of our projects. This might be slightly controversial, and if you would prefer to keep them separate, please do. But for the purposes of this course and this demonstration, I'm just going to show you how to set it up so we could just use a single Git repository for both of these projects. So I'm just going to ignore this for now, and I'm just going to open up the terminal window inside VS Code. And in my third terminal window, I'm currently inside the context of my dating app-spa. Now, if I type in git status, I've already got a Git repository initialized in here, and I don't really want this Git repository initialized in here. I'm going to need to remove this. The easiest way to remove a Git repository is to delete the folder. So if you go to your dating app folder and inside datingapp.spa, now we don't see the Git repository inside here because it's a hidden file. So on a Windows computer inside File Explorer, just show hidden files. If you're on a Mac, you can actually see your hidden files by holding down Shift Command and period, and this will show up your hidden files. And we've got a couple in here, but what we want to do is get rid of this .git folder. This contains our repository that's been initialized for our Angular application. We don't want to remove the gitignore file, we want to keep that. And we also want to keep the editor config. Let's just remove this one and move it into trash. Now if I come back into my terminal window again and I try and use git status in the same location, I'll get not a git repository because I've removed that hidden folder. But that's fine, that's exactly what I wanted. Now if we look at if we go back into the Solution Explorer, what the Angular application also gave us was a .gitignore file. And this automatically is going to not track the changes of anything that's listed in here. Now the most important one that we definitely don't want to track is node modules. I mentioned before, but there are literally thousands of files in here. And you don't need to track changes inside node modules. The idea of this system is that the versions of the packages that we're using are recorded and contained in package.json. And this we do save into version control. And if we need to clone our repository because we want to use this on another computer, then all we need to do is npm install. And based on what's inside package.json, all of these node modules would come down, and this would be repopulated based on what's inside package.json. So anyway, that's fine. We can leave this gitignore file alone. But what we want to do now is I'm just going to close all of these editor windows down. is we want to create a Git repository at the project level. So above the datingapp.spar and API. So I'm just going to come back into the terminal window and I'm just going to go up a level. And inside the context of the dating app folder. And if I just do a git status here, we'll find that it's not a Git repository. But that's fine because we can initialize a Git repository. So I'm going to say git init. And this is going to initialize an empty tree. And this is going to give us some commands that can be useful. And we don't need to use git init, we've already done that. We'll not worry about a readme. We've already done our git commit because we did that inside Visual Studio Code. But what we will do is copy this, the git remote add origin, and then the address of our Git repository. And just copy this into your clipboard and we'll go back to VS Code and open up the terminal, and I'm just going to paste in that command that I've added there, the git remote add origin, and then this is the address of our GitHub repository. I'm just going to press return. And now inside the source control, if I click on these ellipses at the top, I'll have an option to push to, and I'll select this, and then it has the origin, the remote origin that I can select from here, and this will then go ahead and push all of these changes up to GitHub. And then if I go back to GitHub and just refresh this page, then I'll be able to see the project inside GitHub, and I've got my dating app-spar, and I can see all of the files in here for my project. and the datingapp.api, and same again. All of the files are located in here. So you'll also see this warning about vulnerabilities in one of our dependencies. And this is GitHub going and taking a peek inside our packagelock.json file. And all it's doing is looking at version numbers of packages based on already known vulnerabilities. We're not going to touch this. We're going to move past this, and I'm just going to dismiss this and say the risk is tolerable to this project. So it's removed from GitHub. Okay, so now we've got our changes and our code stored in source control. We've uploaded it to GitHub. We've finished our walk-in skeleton. We've got all of our parts in there. So what we're going to do next is just wrap up with a summary for this module.